Hello, my dear folks. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on the East-West Show with G&E TV. Right now, in the month of May, whole month of May, we are busy talking about election, because California primary. Not only that, also California state elections are running hot. As we come closer and closer to the deadline, which is June 7th, the voting date, though, we really want you to cast your vote to the right person, to a better choice, to somebody that you believe, that I believe we all can trust, to somebody who has shown so far a credit of a capacity of handling problems, of representing the district. Speaking of that, I am joined proudly by a wonderful young man. When I say young man, I'm just trying to make one point that when I compare to his age, my age, I call him young man, but he is a veteran already, right? That is Corey Ellenson, candidate for the assemblyman for 48th District of California. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jack. Happy to be here.
All right, very good. You know, sir, it is always a moment when you talk about election that it is the moment to choose the right one for the right job. And for us, the constituents, the taxpayers who are the one you're supposed to be representing, we always take into first consideration about where this man come from, right? What kind of background he has, right? What has he done? What will he do? What difference can he make? So on and so forth. It goes bigger and bigger and bigger, but it starts at the very bottom line, which is your background story.
Sure.
Right. Can we please start?
I would love to. Yeah.
Okay, please.
I was born and raised here in the San Gabriel Valley, in Glendora, where I went to public school and graduated Glendora High School. That was actually where I met my wife 15 years ago, when we were both freshmen at Glendora High.
I see.
After high school, I went to USC. I studied at the Leventhal School of Accounting, graduated with honors there. After that, I went to the UCLA School of Law, studied law there, and got my law degree with a specialization in tax law.
I see.
As a student, I gained valuable experience working for Ernst & Young LLP, the accounting firm. I worked for the California Attorney General's office. I worked for the United States Treasury Department Office of Chief Counsel.
I see.
And I also worked in Washington, D.C. for a short time for the United States Senate. I worked for a few senators there, working to investigate how taxpayer money was spent on the bailout that happened after the recession.
I see, I see.
Once I entered the workforce full-time as a tax attorney, my first position was working for the federal government. I worked for the United States Treasury Department Office of Chief Counsel. My job was to fight civil tax fraud. So fight those who are not paying their fair share, taking advantage of all of the lawful taxpayers who are. So I litigated cases in court on a regular basis, fighting fraud. After that, I started my own law practice. So now I'm in the business of helping people and businesses when they have trouble with their taxes and they need an attorney to advise them.
And you're a member of school board, all right?
Yes, I am. That's the other kind of hat that I wear, is the public servant role. I've always served my community ever since I was a child. My family, we believe in serving the community that we come from. So as soon as I returned back home to start a family with my wife, I got very involved in the community. I served with Kiwanis, Rotary, the Education Foundation, Masonry. I was a volunteer tutor and a guest teacher. I spoke at career days. I believe in following my public service wherever it takes me. It started out with tutoring a young boy in first grade named Jeremiah. And Jeremiah was a struggling reader. And first day, he couldn't even put 3 basic words together to make a sentence. And I worked every day with him as a volunteer. We put phonics together, and we built sentences, and we built words. And by the end of that year, he was able to read Dr. Seuss books with his friends and his classmates. I found out recently that Jeremiah is eligible for honors English now as he goes into middle school.
What a difference.
And that's my philosophy. I follow my public service wherever it takes me. It started out with me tutoring Jeremiah at an elementary school. That led to me running for and being elected to the Glendora Unified School Board, where I've been serving for 3 years now. And that's now led for me here, running for state assembly in the 48th District.
All right, all right. Young as you may look, your experiences, especially working experiences in two folds, one for your career, where you went to school for, and the other in public service. So you've been both successful in both fields, right?
Worked very hard.
Yeah. And I, on my side, I do meet with lots of kind of people, from left or right, from the red or blue,
Right.
whoever you name it. They each of them hold different opinions, but on one ground, they all agree with me that I'm a man of homework.
Okay.
Right, I did do your homework. Right?
Good.
In your homework, you claimed that you are running not for the love of politician or politics, but for the love to the community. So can you explain a little bit, please?
Sure.
I find it very profound.
Yeah. Well, like I tell people, this is all new to me. I'm not an experienced politician. I'm just a local school board member and self-employed tax attorney.
I see.
I'm not running because I love politics. In fact, I don't love politics. I don't even like it.
All right.
But
good.
I do love this community. And I believe that the people of this community deserve a good representative in Sacramento. I believe wholeheartedly that we have been disappointed by our leaders in Sacramento, and the direction that they've taken this state in is unacceptable to me personally and to my community. And for that reason, I'm running. I'm tired of hearing about people and businesses leaving California. I'm tired of hearing about friends and family that are still unemployed. And I'm tired of hearing about crime rates continuing to rise in this valley. We are proud Californians, but we're not proud that our public school system is ranked near the bottom in the nation, while our rates of underemployment and poverty and taxation are near the top.
All right. Okay.
These numbers have to be changed, and
Those
that's
are-
why I'm willing to go to Sacramento to serve the people, to change these facts.
And it sounds sort of quite a philosophy to me. And I am obviously talking to somebody who is right now running for a political position, however, doesn't think himself as a politician. He is, well, according to the homework, he says he look upon himself as a servant.
Public service, not
Public
politics.
servant, not a politics. That's quite a philosophy. And also in the statement that you made on your webpage, you said Sacramento has disappointed you and disappointed California. In what sense, please?
Like I said, most importantly, it's shocking to most people that California, the biggest, the most populated, the state of opportunity that people came from everywhere to be, is a state whose public school system is ranked 46 or 48, depending on which poll you look at, out of all 50 states in the nation.
Okay, at the
That's
bottom.
unacceptable.
At the bottom, yes.
Our funding per student is right there at the bottom per student in the nation. If you consider underemployment figures, the number of people who are in jobs that they're overqualified for, the number of people who are in part-time jobs who need to be in full-time jobs, and the number of people who have simply given up work, that's underemployment. Our underemployment figures are among the highest in the nation. Most strikingly, our levels of poverty. If you consider the cost of living, California has the highest rate of poverty of any state in the nation. This is the land of opportunity, and we're not fulfilling that promise. People moved out here.
And we're doing double taxation.
Well, California has the highest rate of per capita taxation. It's among the highest in the nation. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a priorities problem. We're not investing in our youth. We're not investing in our economy. We're not investing in business development and growth the way that we should be. We all moved here to California for good public schools, a safe place to raise our families, and an opportunity to be successful in our careers. And that promise has faded lately. And it's my intention to go to Sacramento and begin to fulfill that promise that we all count on.
As a matter of fact, when I started the show, at that very moment, I did not know where I shall go or how I shall feel. Now I start to feel a little better. Oh, well, I know at least we're talking about somebody who is moving along a different route for a better California. And with those obvious problems, quote unquote obvious is your term, the obvious problem, the water problem, road problem, poverty problem, and our homeless problems. I'm going to mention that in particular, and I'm going to asking you for solutions of those stuff. And that really put together, that gives us a feeling that there's a call. California needs to change, and something needs to be done with California. And by the way, I was interviewing city manager of West Covina yesterday, just a day ago.
Chris Freeland.
Chris Freeland.
Yeah.
And he kind of told me that every dollar the city gets from city tax money, there's a 14-something cents that goes to education and kids. And out of this $1, there's only 1 penny to their discretion. All the rest goes to California as state, right? So, and we really hope somebody up there will make a difference, because you're talking about sending somebody to the assembly seat that's one of the 80s.
That's right.
Of California. That's a big size already, right? To make decisions. Of course, we want to make sure that we cast our vote to the right person. And to me today, and joining me today is my friend Corey Allenson. He is running as one of the most hopeful the way I see for assembly seat for 48th District of California. Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll go one by one about the problems, those problematic issues that I need answers from you, please.
Sure.
Hello, my dear folks, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome back to the Talk About California. About that. By philosophy, we're talking about exactly the issue. The issue is that we want to find out the devil in the details. How about how you can put somebody qualified for that seat to be Assembly of California, to be one of the 80s right, of California. And with me today is a most hopeful candidate of California Assembly. That's Mr. Corey Allison. And he is so ready, so confident about what he is heading up to. Quote unquote, he is not running for the love or for politics, he runs for the love for the community, right? And then again, I'd like to stretch it a bit. Conceptually, do you take the assembly office as a what? Okay, now put it the other way around. Do you look at yourself as an official or as somebody else once you elected?
Right. Well, it's like I told you when we were chatting earlier. I don't want to be an assemblyman. I want to do the work of an assemblyman.
All right.
I see this as my opportunity to serve my state, to serve my country, to serve the people that I care about. I have a lot of friends that are former military, current active duty, as well as former veterans. And their service to our country inspires me. And I believe we all have to give back to the place that has given us so much.
All right.
And this is my way of serving. It's not going to be easy to go up to Sacramento.
The inspiration we're talking about.
Correct.
The spirit we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
That's my motivation. You asked me about public service, community service. That's where the motivation to do it comes from. Is it's not easy to go up to Sacramento every day. It's not easy to leave my family, but I want to get the work done.
Probably the following examples will explain why I asked the questions just now. Suppose there's an event. I'm the one sending you, your office, an invitation to come over to support the event, which is the public event.
Yep.
And then from that moment on, I keep getting inquiries from the office say, what is the position or whatever when the assemblyman is on stage to make his speech? And what is the time, from what time to what time will he be making a speech? And is parking reserved? If it is reserved, on which spot? Can we get a map, please? And then you have any escort on the parking space on the lot to escort him to the right spot?
Absolutely not. That's unnecessary. We've got important work that needs to be done in Sacramento and here in the district, taking care of the concerns of the citizens. I'm not going to waste my staff's time with these details that aren't important. You give me the time and location and I'll be there, whatever you need me to do.
Okay. I want you understand that I'm not faking those incidents.
But I have to laugh.
Please, right?
I believe you.
Yeah, trust me. I'm really giving you the real life examples, and I'm also, my audience is, You know me. My audience do buy me a lot. They know I don't lie. The only thing I can do is I don't lie, right? So those are the things that probably you can tell. You know what? When you were questioned that way by 4 times about the importance of the boss, you know you started to feel the culture of the office. You got a taste of that. That's why I'm asking that before even asking you about your resolution to our problems, because you have to position yourself in the right position, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you for the answer. I'll give you 2 thumbs up for that.
Excellent.
And you mentioned also that you have put up so far a beautiful service to tax fraud. I know tax fraud has been a big loophole there in the system. How do you see there more jobs can be done, please?
Well, taxes are an important part of our system, but it also can be a hindrance to economic growth and development. Our campaign is focused on 3 important areas. 3 areas that I have particular experience with, and 3 areas that are of the most importance to the citizens of this district. Better public schools, because I'm a school board member, I know how to do that. A stronger job market. I'm a self-employed tax attorney with experience, public and private. I know how to do that. And safer local communities. I'm the only candidate endorsed by the Glendora, Covina, and West Covina Police Officers Associations. You're asking most specifically about taxes. That plays into my second point about a stronger job market. I understand, because I've seen firsthand, how detrimental, overburdensome taxation can be on businesses. I want to make California a place that is friendly for businesses, a place where businesses want to come and grow and develop, a place where people will get jobs and bring growth. That's what we need here. We're driving businesses away because our combination of taxation and regulations are overburdensome.
Speaking of regulation, you did say in your statement that we are over-regulating businesses to a point that they run out, or where we force them to leave. What's your comment on that, and also what's your solution on that to stop that from happening again?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I talked to a lot of business owners in the district, and this district is a very middle-class, hardworking American district. The businesses that we have here are not your conglomerates. They're your hardworking, middle-of-the-road, small business owners. And many of them have said, Sacramento continues to put different burdens upon me. They want me to report this. They want me to file this. They want me to keep track of this number. They said, to be honest, on any given day, I'm not sure if I am breaking any number of regulations, because I can't even keep up with the number that are coming down.
Yeah, you never know how many.
You mentioned that you spoke with Chris Freeland, the city manager of West Covina, and he's an incredible professional and a friend of mine, and I'm grateful that he is in the position that he is. And what he said is right. The money that we collect goes up to Sacramento. That's the epitome of what we need to change. Too much power has been consolidated in Sacramento. A strong element of my candidacy and my personal belief is that we need to bring control back to the local level. We need to bring control back to our city councils, back to our school boards, give these individuals who are elected by their friends and neighbors in the community, the ones who are the most accountable to the people that they serve because they see them on a daily basis, give them the power and the authority and the funding that they need to do their jobs. Why are we sending all the money from our districts up to Sacramento just for them to give it back down to us to educate our students? I'm a school board member. I can tell you that I know best how to educate the students of my district. And that's true for school board members across this area.
And it is obviously, if obviously a war already, taxes is running as waging upon us. They call upon our people to come over. They offer you better terms, better conditions, for less regulations, less rules, less codes, whatever. To face that kind of challenges, though, once you took office, you have any tactic?
Yeah.
In respond to that?
Absolutely. You know, being a self-employed tax attorney with experience as a federal tax attorney for the government, I know taxes better than I'd like to know them. You know, I know them inside and out.
Okay. I'm so glad I'm asking, finally asking to the right person.
Yeah. Well, for better or for worse, I do. I know that tax code inside and out. It's my profession. And it's a tough concept to talk about with a lot of average voters because we've made our tax code so complicated that the average person can't understand it. What that means is that the wealthy business owners, the corporate companies that can pay the high-priced lawyers and accountants their big fees, they're the ones who get the benefit of taxation because they can exploit the loopholes. That's what I'm fighting for. It's what I've been fighting for as an attorney, is to close those loopholes, to make it a level playing field for everyone. You mentioned that the burdens are strong, and they are, and that's why businesses aren't coming here.
They're coming out.
Right, because we make it too hard for them. I mentioned earlier, California has the highest rate of per capita taxation of any state in the United States, or at least one of the top. Those are facts that we have to change, and also the design, and this is getting technical, but the design of our tax code in California actually leads to a boom and bust cycle. So that means when the economy is growing and doing well, California's state government has lots of money. And the politicians' answer has been to spend that money and create programs. But the downside is that when the economy is declining, California state government, their revenues drop. At which point they have to make cuts.
Sure. I really appreciate that explanation, but I'm looking a little ahead in your own shoes.
Okay.
Because you claimed in your statement that you're neither a politician nor do you belong to any red or blue, whatever, left or right. You just want to do what you want to do. You want to do what California, in your mind, is lack of.
That's right.
In other words, is nonpartisanship, nonpartisan
I don't think in terms of politics.
However, the take you take now in taxation, would that be accepted unilaterally?
Well, again,
because I'm looking ahead to the picture you will be facing.
You're right, and that's an important part of what I'm setting out to do. Is when you get to Sacramento, regardless of what your registration is, regardless of what your principles are, all of us have a different and unique set of principles and beliefs. You have to be able to work with everyone. You have to be able to work with people who agree with you and disagree with you. And that's been my strong suit. I'm endorsed by Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everything else from cities across this district because they appreciate that I'm focused on the issues. When I talk to educators about education, we agree. When I talk to developers about the economy, we agree. When I talk to the police officers associations about crime, we agree. So absolutely, I think all of these issues, there is room for common ground. And that's my job. When I get up there is within these areas that I have promised the people I will work on, I will find those areas of common ground. Find those areas in education where we can agree. Find those areas in the economy and crime where we can agree and build those relationships with people of all political ideologies. Start moving forward on that in that way, and you've developed a friendship, and you can do a lot with that in the future.
That's exactly correct. This is exactly what I'm talking about. All right, this morning I heard about one talk over the radio about tactics, pocket tactics, because there is an expert who is asked to say that what they can do to undo what Donald Trump has done wrong in the fight to win Hillary. And vice versa, the same person give his own tactic to undo what Hillary Clinton said wrong in order to beat him up. In other words, you're talking about difference. Right. This whole country is missing somebody who can work on common grounds. Or this country, this whole thing, whole nation, so is the state, needs to find out, do we have any common grounds? So you happen to mention something which is more important than difference.
Sure.
Yeah, do you think you can develop from that point on to let it accepted? We have more common grounds than differences.
We do.
I right?
We do. Okay. And I'm not going up to Sacramento to fight my fellow legislators. You're going to fail if you do that. I'm going up there to build productive, positive working relationships with every member of the assembly up there to find common ground, to get things done for the people. There's only one thing I'm fighting, and I'm fighting on behalf of the people of this district, because the people of this district need someone in Sacramento who will be a loud, outspoken, and fierce advocate for the issues that matter to them.
Okay, what a determination. My dear audience, today I'm joined by the candidate most helpful for California Assemblyman for the 48th District, Mr. Corey Ellenson. He is so determined because what he says really makes sense. He said, quote unquote, in his own statement, that he does what only makes sense. No politicians, no whatever, not left, not right, neither red nor blue. Well, be it Republicans, be it Democrat, and he is just doing the right thing that he believes that makes sense to California. Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll find his solutions. I'll be asking some harder to answer questions relatively to water issues, to road issues, to crime increase issues, to poverty issues, or even to our homeless issues. All right, please?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back. Hello, dear folks. Welcome back to the show. It is a discussion about election. This local election, in my dictionary, is more important than presidential election because it is more directly to me rather than you're talking about somebody somewhere in D.C. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Whoever takes the seat, go ahead, be my guest. Like that kind of thing. Of course, we're talking about California, how much you're taxed upon you and how our kids are taught. And even our roads. Okay, speaking of our road, this is on the to-do list of this great man, Mr. Ellison. And once he's elected, he will be starting from point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way on his checklist. That happens to be on the first item, the road. What is solution to our road conditions? We are kind of driving, kind of like, how do you say, bumpy cars?
Yeah.
Like that, okay, right?
Well, the issues that you're identifying are based on my experience and my background and what I've heard from the people that I've talked to. I've knocked on thousands of doors in this district, and I intend to knock on thousands more because I want to hear from the people what's important to them. And like I said before, our campaign is based on the top 3 things that I've heard: better public schools, stronger job market, and a safer local community. Aside from those top 3 issues, I often hear about the ones that you've mentioned, starting out with roads. That's what the people see every day. You drive them on your way to work, on your way home, on your way for pleasure with your family. It's something that we experience firsthand. And it's true, the roads are deteriorating. Our infrastructure, our roads and bridges and tunnels, it's deteriorating because we haven't invested enough in that infrastructure. Unfortunately, California chooses to put its funds to other use. For example, we have a gas tax. We all pay it when we fill up at the pump.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And the promise to
us... We have
us...
all kinds of plans.
Right. The promise of that gas tax was that although it's going to be hard to pay because gas prices are already expensive, we need to have this tax because we're going to put the money towards roads. But that money is often diverted away from roads and infrastructure projects into other pet projects that the politicians in Sacramento would rather spend money on. My approach is keep the gas tax money to fix the roads. Don't let that be siphoned off into other projects.
Label it.
Correct. Another issue related to roads and transportation is the California bullet train, the infamous bullet train in California that has been put forward for several years now.
Are you supportive to that?
I am not supportive of the bullet train.
Good. All right,
this bullet train is incredibly expensive. Many billions of dollars have been set aside for this. Up to, I believe, $16 billion we might have put aside for it, and it could be growing. I support measures and propositions that have been put forward from some members of the caucus in Sacramento, like State Senator Bob Huff. He says, listen, the people don't want a bullet train. They don't need that. Why don't we take $2 billion, $8 billion out of the bullet train fund and spend it repairing the roads and the infrastructure? Those are the kinds of common sense solutions that we need to be pursuing.
And we need to find out how big is the population of Los Angeles on a day-to-day basis, hitting to San Francisco nonstop.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? About 3%? 5%?
If that. If
that much. And the vice versa, the same day on a day-to-day basis, hitting from San Francisco back to Los Angeles nonstop.
No, but how many people commute from the San Gabriel Valley to downtown LA every day? A tremendous number of people. We rely on these roads and highways for our livelihood. And not to mention, they provide good jobs. You invest in infrastructure, you're hiring people tomorrow to build those roads.
And on the other hand, it is unrealistic because when you talk about bullet trains, you talk about one line straightforward, right? We do not have that kind of line.
No.
The land. We have to zigzag.
Right.
We have to zigzag, which reduces speed. You're not talking about, at the end of the day, bullet trains. Right?
No.
Okay, very good. Okay, we can do only so much on road conditions, and we have a lot more to care about. Our water, sir. Water is a big issue. For the 2 summers already in a row, we have been facing the devastating, most devastating drought.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the long run, in the short run, is there any plan in your mind already?
Well, we have to do something about it. This is something that everyone hears about. Sacramento's solution seems to always be conserve more water, save more water. Listen, we can save all the water we want. Conserving water will not end this drought, and it will not prevent another drought from coming. It's very obvious. The solution we need is water storage. Storage above ground and storage below ground.
All right.
We've passed many bond measures, which have cost the taxpayers money, related to water.
And the money went away.
It did. It was not spent on water storage.
Yeah,
it was
you're
spent
right.
on research
Once
projects.
again.
It was spent on other investigations. But it wasn't spent on the most basic needs. Build aquifers, build reservoirs above ground and below ground. Northern California has so much excess fresh drinking water that they're dumping millions of gallons into the ocean on a regular basis. And down here in Southern California, we are struggling to have enough just to water our lawns and to take care of our homes. Those are what the needs are. We need infrastructure to store water above and below ground, and infrastructure to move water from Northern California down to Southern
Do
California.
you think that there's a concept that could be sold on the floor?
I absolutely think so. I mean, every member of the State Assembly, as you said, all 80, their constituents, all of them are suffering from this drought. There is the will of the people to make a change here. And if we communicate to the people that for 20, 30 years, all of these water bond measures haven't been spent on water storage, it's going to become very obvious that that's the next water policy they need to do, is water storage.
Okay. And also you mentioned in your statement about the crime rates increasing. And of course, that's automatically related to AB 109 and the Prop 47.
That's exactly right.
And you have your obviously a take on those, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So will you be, once you take office, well, make further move towards those things? Because that seems to be the problem where it comes from.
You're absolutely right that that's where the problem comes from. This issue is scary, and it's affecting all of us in all of these cities in Southern California, especially here in the San Gabriel Valley. AB 109 was passed in 2011. That was prison realignment. Sacramento said our state prisons are too crowded, so we're going to release those so-called nonviolent criminals to the local county jails. Well, the county jails were already overcrowded as well, so those so-called nonviolent criminals were released onto our streets. What was the result? Property crimes skyrocketed. Burglaries, carjackings went through the roof in the valley.
And in order to reduce the numbers, they elevated the threshold.
Well, that's the thing, is that a couple years later, in 2014, Prop 47 was pushed upon us. They called it Safe Communities, Safe Schools. It did neither. That was a false name. All Prop 47 did was essentially decriminalize the burglary of all goods under $950, no matter how frequent they occur. There is no condition for that. And it includes handguns. The burglary of a handgun is essentially decriminalized when you combine our policies, as well as the other half of Prop 47, which essentially decriminalized the possession of all narcotics, all drugs, no matter how large the quantity. This includes heroin, methamphetamine, date rape. No matter how large the quantity, these criminals won't spend 1 minute behind bars. One of the most disappointing results of these pieces of legislation is, these so-called nonviolent criminals, many of them have drug problems. And I don't think that prison is the right place for people who are suffering from drug addiction. They need treatment programs. We need to help our people in that way. But when you have a choice to a criminal who's been convicted, you can either spend time behind bars or you can enter a treatment program. That criminal would choose the treatment program almost every time, and they would get better. Their drug addiction would get better. Now, you don't have the threat of time behind bars. So they actually they make that choice. They say, I don't want the treatment program. Give me my sentence, because they know they'll be booked and released the next day.
You know, sir, to us, the average Joe and the average Sue of day-to-day life, we really having a hard time understand. If there's a flood problem, instead of trying to take care of the levee, and you try to let the flood go a little bit on the street, and on the other hand, you don't want the flood to go to your house, you raise up the threshold.
Correct.
It sounds like so naive. So do you think that you can sell the concept to let them overturn, at least rethink about it? That the AB 109, Prop 47, they are so naive, they are just not working. And you just mentioned it working none of the ways, right?
No, it's not working at all. The result has been terrible. Prop 47 was just passed in 2014. As a result, crime in California has skyrocketed. Crime in big cities has skyrocketed.
Right.
As a result, in just LA County, I was talking with LA County Sheriff Jim McDonnell about this issue, which he takes very seriously. He reported some scary statistics to me. In the short time since Prop 47 has been passed, there have been 40,000 criminals who would otherwise be behind bars are on the streets. Of those, over 20,000, over half of them, have already been rearrested for new crimes.
Reoffend.
Correct. And those are only the ones that were caught. Of those that were caught, you had 83 robberies, 26 murders, and 14 rapes, all of which could have been prevented if we had smart crime legislation.
Lock it up.
Absolutely. And like I said, the answer is not a one-stop answer. It's a multifold approach. Number one, you have to have mandatory treatment programs for drug addicts. Number two, you have to have a better system of probation in LA County so that when people are released, you help them recover back into society instead of casting them aside. And you have to have smart legislation that makes sense, that is a deterrent for people.
Okay, very good. And it looks like that somebody opens a window right in front of me. I started to see some daylight with this issue. This is an issue that has been bothering me for quite some time, ever since 2011. And then 2 years, 4 years later, 3 years later with these Prop 47, I was so confused. The people kind of like, here's a term in English. Once you are in office in Sacramento, keep that term. Try to steal a bell with an earplug. You see what it means? You are stealing somebody's doorbell.
Correct.
You earmuff yourself so that you don't hear anything. Right? That's exactly that is.
Doesn't solve the problem.
Right? Describe them. You describe the problem to your colleagues.
They need to understand
office,
that.
Right?
And I will immediately, on day one, start addressing these issues because they call it nonviolent, but I'm sorry, I've spoken to many residents of this district whose homes have been broken into in the middle of the night.
What's the difference for robbing a 7-Eleven for $900 below and a $900 and the $5?
And the criminals know. I talked to some police officers. They arrest people who have stolen from Walmart 4 times in one day. Each time they stole, it was about $940, $930. So because they know they don't do anything.
They know the line.
And like I said, Sacramento may call these nonviolent criminals, but the folks that I've talked to door to door, some of the senior citizens of our community, when their homes are broken into in the middle of the night and their items are stolen, that feels very violent to them. And I'm not going to take that away from them. That is a violent crime. And if it happened to my family,
they're not judging that by the dollar value, dollar amount.
No, that's a violent crime when it's someone breaking into your home. And as I've said, I am endorsed by the Covina, West Covina, and Glendora Police Officers Associations because our men and women in uniform know that I will be a fierce advocate on this issue.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. My dear audience, let's take a short moment now. When we come back, I have this homeless issue to talk about. So stay with us, please. Hello, my dear audience, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow is my name. East West is a show with a G&E TV. Every time when there's an election, especially when there's a state election, we try to get typically involved because we care about California more than anything we care about, right? Because it's our own state, That's the state where I came for 31 years ago. For a betterment of life, right? For its education, for its, everything. And for its even road, I rode back to my friends, say, hey, here in California, when you drive on the freeway on the surface, you fall asleep easy because it's like as if you're driving on glass surface. Now you do what you do. You all right, you never fall asleep.
No.
Like that kind. Okay. Yes, I know that we, on a parallel kind of a depreciation of everything.
Pulls at my heartstrings too, and it's something that's unacceptable to me and everyone I've spoken with knocking on doors in this area. The solution to homelessness is a multi-pronged approach, but the reason that most people are homeless is because of a lack of opportunity. It goes back to what I've said, this entire program. We need to invest in a strong K-12 public school system. We need to educate our young people so that they have a future, they have a career path, they have something they're working towards. On the same token, we have to create an economy that is growing, that is hiring. To do that, we need to look at workforce development. What industries are hiring? Because there are a tremendous number of industries in the trade and vocational areas that are hiring, and we're not preparing a qualified workforce to address that. We need to be doing that. And that combination will reduce homelessness. It will also reduce crime, which we just talked about recently. To deal with the homeless people that we already do have, we need to help rehabilitate them back into our society. The biggest issue of homelessness in this area is a lack of housing. It's unaffordable to purchase homes in this area. The cost of living is outrageous. I mentioned at the beginning of this program, if you consider cost of living, California has the highest rate of poverty in the nation, or among the highest.
I agree.
And by that increasing cost of living, our state is moving all of us into poverty. And at some point, we're all headed in that direction. So those of us that are struggling to get by, we're knocking them right off the edge and sending them to live on the streets. We need to encourage smart development, redevelopment. We are already behind in terms of home construction. We're not keeping up with our natural population growth, nor are we preparing for the large number of people that continue to move to California to try to make it work here.
Yeah, let me do a little insertion here. To take care of the problem of 46,000, if you put up a house that holds for 100 though, you're talking about 460 houses.
Right.
Where do we get those houses?
No, and the solution that we always hear from Sacramento is we need more affordable housing.
Yes.
Well, I understand that point. We do need affordable housing, government subsidized affordable housing, and we do have that. But we also need to make housing affordable, which is a different concept. We have put so many taxation and regulatory burdens on home builders that it costs them $250,000 just to build a home. So they're not building the kinds of homes that people can afford. They're building large estates and they're building condos. But these middle of the road homes, these 1,500 to 2,000 square foot homes, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, that we all were raised in, that we live in, those aren't existing anymore because developers can't afford to come to California and develop housing. Like I said, it's a multi-pronged approach. You invest in the economy, you invest in public education, then people are going to have jobs, they're going to be productive citizens, they're going to be making some money. You have to couple that with housing that they can afford to live in. We have to be building homes that we can afford to buy. Most young people today,
Otherwise,
they can't afford to buy a home out here.
As time goes along, for example, for something 200,000, you can buy a beautiful mansion in Houston. In Houston, Texas.
Right.
And here you end up with a 2-bedroom. That's it.
Right. That's like, so I said, it's
if you're lucky.
It's a combination of those two things. Put people back on the right track, give them a future, give them opportunity, and encourage development, smart development, in houses that are actually affordable for young people to buy who are just starting out and want to raise a family. Another important issue related to homelessness that I want to talk about is the issue of mental health. Because a lot of the people that we see on our streets are suffering from mental illness.
Yeah, some of those homecoming veterans, they are suffering from the PTSDs.
Yeah, veterans that come back from their service to our country, many do suffer from PTSD. Even those that don't, we need to make sure we're helping to rehabilitate them back into the civilian society, because the military world is very different from the civilian world.
You're right.
And it's a transition that we have to help
especially when they are wounded.
Yeah, but I'm speaking about specifically the mental health concern that we have. I have a relative who is a social worker with the LA County Department of Mental Health. I'm endorsed by Supervisor Mike Antonovich from Los Angeles County, and we have talked about mental health issues because it is rampant across LA County. It's something that we need to invest in. We need to have widespread support. We need to encourage people to go into these fields.
Is it fair, sir, once you do take office, please make a distinction between the regular homeless and those home returning veteran homeless? Well, and I believe that they deserve some special treatment.
Well, our veterans who put their life on the line every day absolutely deserve special treatment because they put everything on the line for us.
I push you to go that way, to think about that way, because, you know.
A model for that I've seen and worked with personally is Citrus College. It's a community college here in the San Gabriel Valley. They have a veterans center, which many colleges don't have. And this is a place where veterans can come together when they're at school, because it is a difficult transition. And they have this place with resources where other veterans are there and they can share their experiences. Employers go there when they want to hire veterans. They have speakers. They have a counseling support system there dedicated just to veterans. That model is what we need to apply district-wide, statewide. We need to have, even though our veterans, it's a federal issue, we have Washington, D.C. and the federal government responsible for the Veterans Administration. The state of California must still do its part, step up and help that transition so that our returning veterans don't become homeless.
Okay. And I give you a true story, of course, quote-unquote true story. I was told by the homeless guy. And it so happened the other day I was downtown doing an interview within one of the events the former mayor was conducting. And on the street I conducted in this interview with this poor guy. He was in the Vietnam War. His body has a special, some kind of a system that rejects the anesthetics, right? So when he lost his leg doing what is the cutting the leg off? Double T? I forgot, I happened to forget that term.
Sure.
And the pain was so great that he had to totally rely on himself because the anesthetics doesn't work. So with too much morphines, whatever, that he addicted to morphines, to drugs. And then he ended up with a drug problem, and he was dismissed with no corner, with no honor, whatever. And he, of course, upon home return, he became homeless. So that is a very pathetic example.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think those guys needs to be treated in a special way? Because we think about their merits, we think about their fight for our freedom, though. They deserve something.
Yeah, absolutely. Answer is easy. Yes, they deserve special treatment. An individual like that who's having his leg amputated, who's coming back from service.
Amputation, yes.
Absolutely. I met, when I was knocking on doors, a very nice young man who served our country honorably. He served several tours of duty in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Unfortunately, when he was there, he saw a lot of combat, a lot of violence, and he came home with PTSD. He came back with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
And when he came back, he was an honorable and decorated veteran. He had a Purple Heart, he had awards from the military, and every politician around wanted to come out and get their photo with him. They wanted to present him proclamations. When I was at his house, he said, "Come in, I'll show you." And he took me inside his house and he showed me he had a wall full of proclamations and photos from every politician you can imagine. Well, he had a hard time transitioning back. His post-traumatic stress disorder was bad. He showed me his arms. He hurts himself because of his post-traumatic stress disorder. He used to go to a local VA where they had a mental health wing of the VA. And because of budget cuts and funding shifts, they closed down that wing. So now he'd have to travel quite a distance to go to the next one. That's the failure. I've said before, our state and federal government, we do not have a revenue problem. The state of California, we have one of the highest rates of per capita taxation of any state in the nation.
Priority.
Yep, and exactly. And we have a state government that brings in over $150 billion every year. Our problem is that we're not prioritizing correctly. Why aren't we investing in our veterans? Why aren't we investing in our public schools? Why instead are we investing to grow the size of our state government? California has over 500 state agencies and offices. They have overlapping duties and responsibilities, and it's completely inefficient. We need to reduce the size of our state government, improve our economy to transition those folks into better jobs, and set our priorities straight.
All right, all right. I'm almost determined that I will cast my vote on you, because you seem to be the one. Now, my dear audience, we're obviously over time by large. So I'm so glad that I will ask my editor to cut myself off rather than keep himself, right? And I like the conversation. I especially like his take about prioritization is the key, right? So with me today, my good friend, the candidate of the most hopeful for California Assembly 48 District, Corey Allenson. He shared his political point of view. As a matter of fact, he does not claim himself to be a politician. He is only running for he wants to serve. All right, sir, I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
And my dear audiences, please walk out then cast your vote on people that you believe who will be the better one for the job. And thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Good.